When you plant your seeds, tend your crops, and harvest your fields, who owns the story that data tells? It sounds like a simple question, but for millions of farmers across the country, the answer is anything but clear. Every time a tractor rolls across a field, every time a soil sensor takes a reading, every time a yield monitor records a harvest, that information is being captured, stored, and potentially used by someone who never set foot on your land. Welcome to one of the most important and overlooked debates in modern agriculture. Farming has always been about hard work, risk, and resilience. But today, there is a new layer to that story. The data your farm generates has real value, and powerful interests are paying close attention. The central question we need to ask is this: are farmers in control of that value, or are they unknowingly giving it away? The modern farm is no longer just a food-producing machine. It has quietly become a data-producing one as well. Not long ago, a farmer's most sophisticated tool might have been a soil test kit or a weather almanac. Today, the picture looks entirely different. Modern farms are equipped with GPS-guided tractors that can navigate fields with centimeter-level precision, drones that survey thousands of acres in a matter of hours, and smart sensors buried in the soil measuring moisture, temperature, and nutrient levels in real time. Precision agriculture platforms pull all of this together, helping farmers make decisions about when to plant, where to irrigate, and how much fertilizer to apply. These are genuinely powerful tools that have helped boost productivity and reduce waste. But here is the part that often goes unnoticed. Now let's talk about what exactly is being collected, because this goes far deeper than most farmers realize. First, there's operational data, things like planting dates, seed varieties, fertilizer application rates, and harvest yields. Then comes environmental data, capturing soil moisture levels, temperature fluctuations, rainfall patterns, and microclimatic conditions unique to each field. Beyond that, financial data is being logged, including input costs, equipment purchases, and the prices farmers receive when they sell their crops. And finally, equipment data tracks machine performance, fuel consumption, maintenance cycles, and even operator behavior behind the wheel. Together, these layers create an extraordinarily detailed portrait of a farm's entire operation. We're not talking about a few numbers on a spreadsheet. We're talking about a living, breathing digital biography of how a farm operates day after day, season after season. And that biography, it turns out, is incredibly valuable to people far beyond the farm gate. Now that we understand what data is being collected, let's talk about who actually wants it and why. The most obvious stakeholder is the farmer, who generates this data and ideally should benefit most from it. But the line of interested parties extends far beyond the farm gate. Agricultural technology companies like John Deere and Climate Corporation want farm data to improve their products, train artificial intelligence models, and build competitive advantages. Input suppliers, meaning seed and fertilizer companies, want data to better target their sales and marketing efforts. Insurance companies use farm data to assess risk and set premium pricing. Commodity traders and hedge funds want predictive yield intelligence that can move markets. And government agencies seek data for policy planning and subsidy administration. Here is the critical point, though. Each of these players has their own agenda, and those agendas frequently prioritize their own financial interests over the farmer's well-being, creating a tension that sits at the very heart of this debate. Here is where things get legally complicated. When a farmer signs up for a precision agriculture platform or activates a smart equipment service, they are typically presented with a lengthy terms and conditions agreement. These documents can run dozens of pages, filled with dense legal language that even trained attorneys find difficult to parse. Buried within that fine print are clauses granting companies remarkably broad rights. Rights to collect your operational data, store it indefinitely, analyze it for commercial purposes, share it with third-party partners, and in some cases, outright sell it to outside buyers. The farmer's signature becomes a transfer of something deeply personal, the intimate story of their land, their decisions, their livelihood. And the troubling reality is that most farmers sign without hesitation, not because they do not care, but because they are focused on farming, not deciphering corporate legal documents designed by teams of specialized attorneys. Was being sold to financial firms for millions of dollars annually, while the farmers who generated it saw absolutely nothing in return. In recent years, agricultural technology companies have quietly aggregated planting and yield data from millions of acres, packaging those insights for sale to commodity traders and financial institutions. Hedge funds have used predictive crop yield models built on farmer-generated data to position themselves in futures markets days or even weeks before official government crop reports are released. This means that when a farmer in Iowa plants soybeans and his tractor dutifully records every row, that information may travel through data pipelines to Wall Street analysts who profit handsomely from it. The farmer receives no royalty, no revenue share, and often no awareness that this transaction even occurred. One investigation found that private satellite and sensor data, much of it originating from farm equipment, talk to almost any farmer today, and you will hear a version of the same story. They wake before sunrise, carry the financial burden of seed, equipment, and land, endure unpredictable weather, volatile markets, and razor-thin margins. And at the end of the season, they discover that somewhere in a corporate office or a trading floor, someone profited from the very data their labor generated. That feeling is not just frustration. It is a deep sense of economic injustice. Farmers are the original data generators. Every decision they make, every acre they manage, every bushel they harvest contributes to a data ecosystem worth billions of dollars. Yet the farmer often sees none of that financial return. Farm advocacy groups report that rural communities increasingly feel exploited by the very technology that promised to help them. They were told precision agriculture would increase profits. Instead, many feel it has simply increased surveillance while the profits flow elsewhere. Farmers are not staying silent. Across the country, agricultural organizations and coalitions are pushing back against the unchecked flow of farm data into corporate hands. The American Farm Bureau Federation developed its privacy and security principles, a framework establishing that farmers should own their data, control who accesses it, and receive clear notice before any sharing occurs. These principles were a landmark step in acknowledging that the status quo was simply not working for the people growing our food. Beyond voluntary frameworks, some state governments are beginning to act. Legislators in states like Iowa and Minnesota have explored bills requiring greater transparency in agricultural data agreements, giving farmers meaningful opt-out rights and clearer disclosures about how their information is used. Farm organizations are also lobbying at the federal level, pushing for comprehensive agricultural data legislation that mirrors consumer privacy protections. The momentum is building, and farmers are increasingly finding their voices in a debate that directly shapes their economic futures. Farmers deserve transparency and fairness baked into the system, not offered as a marketing feature. John Deere, Climate Corporation, and others have introduced clearer data ownership language in their agreements, opt-in data sharing models, and in some cases, data marketplaces where farmers can choose to monetize their own information. On the surface, these sound like meaningful steps forward, but critics urge caution. Many of these changes arrived only after sustained public pressure, regulatory scrutiny, and organized farmer advocacy, not from genuine corporate initiative. The fine print still often favors the company. Opt-in models can be structured in ways that make opting out feel impractical or costly. And data marketplaces, while promising in concept, frequently leave farmers with